How he responded to the parents of a fallen Army captain who was killed in the line of duty. In his first response to Khizr Khan's claim that he had, quote, sacrificed nothing for his country, Donald Trump said that he had, in fact, sacrificed by employing thousands and thousands of people.
How would you answer that, Father? What sacrifice have you made for your country?
I think I've made a lot of sacrifices. I work very, very hard. I've created thousands and thousands of jobs, tens of thousands of jobs, built great structures. I've had tremendous success. I think
those are sacrifices?
Oh, sure. I think they're sacrifices.
The Republican presidential nominee also drawing sharp criticism for saying that Mr. Khan's wife, Ghazala, didn't speak on the stage because she was forbidden to as a Muslim. The grieving Khan family reacted to Trump's comments in an emotional interview.
Running for president is not an entitlement to disrespect Gold Star family and Gold Star mother not realizing her pain. Shame on him.
Let's bring in Republican strategist and co-chair of the Great America PAC supporting Donald Trump, Ed Rollins.
Thank you.
Ed, how does he put this to bed? Because, again, it continued to mushroom as the weekend wore on.
He has to quit talking about it. He should have basically at the beginning said thank you to the parents of this wonderful young man who 12 years ago gave his life for his country and move on. It's not one of the unfortunate things about Donald Trump is he's a top of mind argument, and he's very combative, and anybody who takes him on he wants to go back at. This was just not a fight that he won, and he has to be very careful in the month of August, particularly where there's nothing else going on, and you don't want to spend 3 or 4 days dominating a subject that you can't win on. And I think to a certain extent there are lots of things he could have gone after Hillary on. His focus has to be on Hillary Clinton, on the Obama record, and this will be 3-4 more years of Obama, and that's got to be his focus.
These don't even seem to be traps that the Democrats have set for him, that he creates these problems for himself. After, like during the DNC last week, Ed, you had the issue about the DNC hack. And the narrative that the Democrats spun was making it about Russia. Russia did it, and they're trying to get Donald Trump elected, which was just absolutely ludicrous. It was about the hack and what was in the emails, but he, again, stepped in it and made a joke about Russia hacking Hillary Clinton's emails. It was a joke, but nonetheless, again, it dominated the news cycle.
It's hard to argue with someone that's had the success that he's had, but I've always basically said to candidates, and I've been doing this for 50 years, don't think out loud. Don't think out loud. Basically, if you have a plan for the week, have a plan for the day. Here are the things I'm going to take on. Here are the people I'm going to take on. Here are the issues I'm going to take on. And don't get into rambling statements, because when you do, you always have thousands of reporters somewhere out there following you, and they're going to take things down and write them, and they're not going to write them the way you want them. So a discipline in this campaign in the next couple of weeks is going to be very, very important. He's got to build a campaign structure. He's in a very competitive race. She's going to have an extraordinary team. She's going to run the traditional campaign. He's not. Obviously, it's going to be a very close election. By the time we get the polls this week, it'll be pretty dead even. She'll move ahead a little bit because of the momentum. And at the end of the day, he can't be making mistakes.
I've been thinking about that. This is what I do. I sit around all weekend and think about what I'm going to ask Ed Rollins on Monday morning. You have a weak candidate with a great campaign, and maybe a great candidate. So you have a weak candidate with a great campaign and a great candidate with a weak campaign. Which one dominates?
Well, so far, it's been Trump, and obviously, at the end of the day, her campaign will dig out every vote that they have. He's got to basically put a structure in there and play. He doesn't believe in that, but he has to have it. If you're going to win the Pennsylvanias, the Floridas, and the Ohios, which are the 3 keys to winning for him or for her, you got to go in there and find those voters and bring them out, and that takes a real structure.
Is he building that now? Is he building a get out the vote operation in Pennsylvania? I think he's. At least I can't coordinate because I'm basically with the super PAC. Certainly, what my super PAC wants to do, but equally as important, I think those things are happening. We're late. We need to get going. She's building on the Obama team. This was one of the best in the business, and we need to basically duplicate.
Can I add to that, though? Sources that I've talked to within the Trump organization say that they're going to use social media. That's their ground game, to answer your question, Harlan, is social media, not the physical ground game of back in the day politics.
I don't think that
whether
works.
that's a good idea.
As somebody with a background in digital campaigning, you actually have to knock on doors. You actually have to get people out to vote. I mean, just tweeting and getting engagement on Facebook, it's not enough. It's not enough to actually get people.
My parents would literally, you go and put people in vans and you drive them to the polls.
Exactly.
You have three tasks in any campaign. You find your voters, you communicate with your voters, you get them to the polls whenever the election day is. It's not one day anymore. It's sometimes months because of all the absentee ballots and everything. Social media is a fabulous tool that we've used extensively, but it's finding your voters. It doesn't force them to go to the polls. The Democrats will be knocking on the doors. Have you voted today? Come and get in the car. Here's a donut. Here's a cup of coffee. I'm going to get you to the polls. They're going to basically go into the church communities and what have you, and they're going to turn out their votes. They're going to get the bus drivers from Sundays, turn people out, and I think that's what we have to be worried about, and we have to duplicate that.
I want to ask you about Russia. The presidential candidate sparring over Russia's role in the world and Trump's relationship with Putin.
The people of Crimea, from what I've heard, would rather be with Russia than where they were. And you have to look at that also.
There's serious issues about Russian interference in our elections, in our democracy. We would not tolerate that from any other country, particularly one with whom we have adversarial positions. And for Trump to both encourage that and to praise Putin, despite what appears to be a deliberate effort to try to affect the election, I think raises national security issues.
Ed, your reaction to that?
Putin is one of the 2 or 3 most powerful men in the world, and he's not our friend. At the end of the day, we can try and have better relations long term, but you can't basically assume he's going to be the same interest you have. So you can't basically be saying that the bad activity of the invasions that he made in the past, taking over parts of a free democracy, it was a good thing. He has to really pay attention to his briefing books here. He has to really go after her on her Clinton Foundation's Russian involvement.
Which, by the way, was not mentioned one time last week. All the good work that the Clinton Foundation has done, it did not get brought up once at the DNC.
Well, it's basically been, if you get into the Clinton Foundation, which I assume they will, you're going to find that everybody who's given donations has gotten something in return. The Clintons forever, since the days of Arkansas, everything's been for pay. You give me a donation, you get to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom, you get to fly on Air Force One, you get some kind of a job, you get some kind of a deal. Started in Arkansas, went all through the 8 years of the White House. Clinton Foundation maintained that and continued to move forward.
Doesn't she have a Russia problem, too, because she did the reset? So she doesn't really have a lot of credibility when she's talking about Donald Trump and his affinity for Russia.
She is very vulnerable on that. You just have to make sure that's the case, and that's what we're talking about, as opposed to him basically saying Putin's a good guy.
Right. He's given her a pass because of the way that he's talking about Putin. One other thing I want to bring up with you, Ed. So the Clinton, with regard to Trump and how he talked about the Khan family, the Clinton campaign immediately went after Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, pushing them for responses, and they gave responses to that. But they're pushing them, and I kind of wonder, are they concerned about maybe people voting for Hillary Clinton but then voting Republican across the rest of the ticket?
There's a great danger in any campaign when you have someone like Donald Trump who may bring out new voters. To make sure that those voters go down side of the ballot and vote for congressmen and legislators. And the same way with her. If she has a better structure to turn out votes, at the end of the day, it'll benefit Democrats across. So we have to duplicate that. That's what the RNC should be doing. Congressional committee should be doing. There's always a danger. Richard Nixon in 1972 won 61% of the vote and won 49 states and basically wiped Republicans out everywhere. I did in 1984. I made sure those Democrats that were for Reagan got turned over to the congressional candidates, and we picked up seats. And that's the way you have to do it. You have to identify those voters, make sure that they're for both Trump and the candidates down below.
And I wonder if people are not thinking about that, if they can stomach a candidate who they don't find palatable if they vote for the other party down the entire ballot. That's certainly a conversation that people have started raising with me.
Well, there's a real danger. There's a real danger to us this time. We're still in a very competitive race for the presidency. The Senate is very much in jeopardy, and we have to be very careful not to lose that Senate. If we lose that Senate, I don't care who's president, going to have a very hard time. And we can win that Senate. We just have to make sure we don't make any serious mistakes.
Ed Rollins.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Pretty good for a Giants, Jets, Niners, Raiders fan.
But over time, we've had lots of championships. When our Raiders are good, I can cheer for them. When my 49ers are good, I can cheer. The Jets haven't been very good. So
notice Ed doesn't root for the Lions or the Eagles. Ed, it was great to see you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Ed Rollins.